You're listening to The Straight Line on MRN.com, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day. And also brought to you by Hercules Tires. Ride on our strength.
Staged up and ready to go here on MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Hey, everybody. Ralph Shaheen and Doug Herbert with you as we get set to go with another good time talking about drag racing. And let's get right into the controversy, Doug. It was a wild weekend up there in New Hampshire. We're going to have Matt Hagan on the show here to talk about how things went in the funny car categories. He goes back-to-back 2 years in a row. But there was some controversy about the track surface. Explain that.
Or track prep. I think it was track prep. From what I understand, NHRA, and we'll ask Matt a little bit more about that. He'll probably know more than me. But they cut the VHT traction compound with methanol, with alcohol, methanol. And apparently they increased that cut, which, takes away traction. And depending upon what the weather is, might not be such a big deal. If the weather's, overcast, then probably not a big deal. If it's sunny and warm or whatever. I mean, it could really change. So I think that's kind of something that has to be kept up on. And apparently there were some discussions about that too. So we can talk about that a little
on
bit
Twitter
later, too.
And at the far end of the racetrack, because I guess Sean Langdon and Cruz Pedregon kind of got into a bit of a war of words at the far end.
Yeah, and I don't know what happened the first part, but I mean, I saw Cruz was yelling and probably using some improper language. I don't know what led up to that, but where'd that go? I don't know. I mean, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm not a very big Cruz fan anyways, but there you go, I mean.
So like you were saying is before we get on the air, look, it's equal for everybody, right? No matter what they do at the track prep, everybody's got to deal with the same racing surface.
As long as the lanes are equal. That's another thing we want to ask Matt Hagan about, because I know he made a point to say that he had lane choice each run. Normally, it's not a big deal. Who cares? Some drivers maybe like the right lane or the left lane because, their vision is better or whatever. I know in a funny car, it's sometimes even more of an issue, but I don't know. I heard some talk about having lane choice, and usually it's just a matter of pride or whatever. But if it really did make a difference between performance, like this lane was bad, like, Peggy Fleming couldn't get down that lane. Well, then
For those that might not remember, Peggy Fleming, the great ice skater back in the day, so you're saying be pretty slippery.
Exactly right. Well, every once in a while I got to throw something funny in there.
Showing your age there, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. But at any rate, yeah.
You didn't even go Dorothy Hamill, which would have been like 70s. You went way back. Peggy Fleming.
I must
That's
be
nice.
old. But at any rate, yeah. I mean, in the old days, it used to be where lane choice was critical because, this lane was bumpy or this lane was real porous, finish or whatever. But it seems like for the last 10, 15 years, it hasn't been very many races that I can think of that were one lane racetracks. Seattle was probably one of the last places that I can remember that, lane choice was really pretty important. But I'm curious to ask Matt Hagan how that was and what lane choice, how that factored in.
Well, let's do that as soon as we come back. We're going to have Matt Hagan in the lane, ready to go right here on MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Stay with us. We're just getting started.
Hey, race fans, it's Ralph Shaheen, and like you, I have a huge passion for racing. With the most in-depth features on racers, series, and events, no one covers racing better than America's original motorsports publication, Speed Sport. Get your subscription to Speed Sport magazine today at speedsport.com.
The race to the championship is coming through Phoenix. It's the 2019 NASCAR semifinal race weekend at ISM Raceway. Now it's more personal than ever after a $178 million modernization project that gets you into the infield, into the garages, and even closer to the cars and drivers. The 2019 NASCAR semifinal race weekend at Phoenix's ISM Raceway, November 8th, 9th, and 10th. This time, it's personal. Lock in your seats early at ismraceway.com.
NHRA drag racer Doug Herbert here to talk about safe driving. In early 2008, my two sons were killed in a car accident that was caused by speed and inexperience. After the accident, I learned that over 6,000 teenagers each year are killed in car accidents, so I formed a nonprofit organization called BRAKES. BRAKES stands for Be Responsible and Keep Everyone Safe. Please visit our website at putonthebrakes.org to learn more about responsible driving and what you can do to keep our roads safe.
Welcome back to MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts as we get set to go. Matt Hagan joining us on the line. Hey, Matt, congratulations on a big win in New Hampshire.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, that's three years in a row up there. So I want to start racing up there every year. I mean, like every race, every week. Let's just go up there.
That needs to just be a regular stop, right? You've three wins 3 years in a row. That's a pretty good record up there, Hagan.
That's that track showing me some love. That's for sure, man.
What
How
is
you
it?
guys? Y'all good?
Yeah, man, we're great. We're great. We're not hoisting any wallies over here, but we're doing all right. We're doing the best we can. What is it about that place and that it's so good for you up there? Why do you keep dialing that thing in?
I don't know, man, but you get these feelings that you go to some of these tracks and you just, on Saturday, Sunday, you're like, I think this is going to be my weekend. You know what I mean? And you just kind of, you don't say it out loud because you're scared of messing it up, but it's just kind of, you just get those feelings at some places you go and it just kind of clicks, and we've been on the edge of I guess kind of like, getting our car worked out. We've got some new levers in the clutch, and, we've got a little bit of help from Zippy, and, things are trying to, really kind of fall into place. It just hasn't in the last, I don't know, 6 or 8 races. It's been tough. You know what I mean? So, we've had a lot of first round exits and stuff like that. And, I think that we like Dickie said, we've been missing it just a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's huge on the racetrack, and so, changing a few little things here and there, it's just funny how you go like, man, that was so simple, but yet we were so far away, and now the confidence that he has with the runs that we've been making, it is huge. And it's, it trickles down, man. When I see confidence in my crew chief and I'm not up there thinking about what the car's going to do, I can focus on my lights. I focus on keeping it in the groove. I'm not worried about pedaling the race car. I'm not worried about, is it going to come loose here, or does it got to slap it there, or, what's this thing going to do? And, so it's a trickle effect, and then our guys see it in me, and then just they're putting the car and they're focused, and it just kind of, it all makes one big, one big circle, you know what I mean? So, and it all starts with our crew chief,
Hey, Matt, Dickie and you guys had a pretty good running car. You qualified 6th, but then first round you went out there and laid down low ET and top speed of the meet. Was that a plan, or was that like, whoa, that was a surprise?
Well, no, I mean, we qualified 6th, but I think, Doug, you got to put it in perspective how hot this racetrack was, and how 140-degree track, and, you're looking at 95% humidity, and, it was 94 degrees out there. And I mean, I sweated out three shirts, you know what I mean? I mean, it was just, it was brutal on Friday and Saturday. And then you come into a racetrack on Sunday morning where there's hardly any humidity, and it's really cool, and the rubber's really good. And and that's kind of Dickie Venerable's MO, man. Like that, he can throw down when it's like that. I mean, it's really hard to pull these race cars back, I mean, but it's not so hard to like push them and make that power. We've always made plenty of power. So it's just, it's a lot more challenging for these crew chiefs to reel the power back as it is to kind of push the power forward,
We were talking at the beginning of the show here about the track surface and a bit of a confrontation down at the far end. I guess Sean Langdon and Cruz Pedregon getting into it a little bit. They were talking about the track prep and the surface and all that. What did you think about that and what they were doing with the surface?
I really like Sean Langdon. I'm not a very big Cruz fan. Me and Cruz have had some differences.
Me too. Cruz doesn't have much of a fan club, does he?
And now, I mean, and I'm going to keep my personal side of things out of it, but the problem with Cruz is that he's overly confident in himself, and that's sometimes that's a good trait. It's great to be confident, but overly confident is sometimes it rubs people the wrong way. And my thing about it is that Cruz, he's a smart guy. You got to give him that. He can drive and he can tune, but the problem is that he thinks tuning is super easy. And if that was the case, there would be these teams cycling through crew chiefs, and I think it comes down to where, Sean was upset with some of the track prep. We don't have enough glue out there to run as good as we need to put on the show that we should for these fans. And, a lot of people were smoking tires and stuff, and Cruz was just basically saying, hey, you just need to adapt. Your crew chief needs to adapt. He needs to be better. And, that never sets well with anybody. And I think that, Langdon kind of fired back at him, going like, "Hey, if you don't make the top 10, are you going to fire yourself?" You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those things where it just kind of got sassy up there a little bit, and it's great to see. I like it. I like drama. I mean, it's one of those things where I think we should have some more confrontation in our sport. But at the end of the day, everybody still puts their helmet on and we go race, and do our thing. But I have to be cautious, because I've had my hand slapped a few times. I've put out some tweets and I've put out some stuff about, our show up until this point, how it hasn't been the best with them pulling track prep back. And, we're showmen and we're here to put on a show, and we're, and I'm not trying to say anything negative about NHRA because it never goes over well. We have sponsors to keep and we have fans to keep and that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, I want to put on the best show I can for the folks that are paying their hard-earned money to come out and see us run unbelievable numbers out there. You know what I mean? And that's hard to do without glue on the racetrack. So, and I'll just leave it at that. I think that, the days of pulling in the seat and knowing that you can set a world record if the conditions are right, that's what I live for, man. I mean, I would chew on my mouthpiece when I'd see the weather come in and, you pull down tight and you look at your crew chief and you just be like, you just knew that you were going to throw down, and there was a possibility of setting a world record any moment, and that's what got my blood pumping, and that's what got my adrenaline going, and those days are not going to happen because we don't have the surface to run that fast anymore. And they say insurance, they say this or that or whatever, but at the end of the day, that's what people were paying to come see, and they want to see fast drag racing and side by side racing, and it's getting better. They're starting to put some more glue back here and there. But they change it up and everything's are so inconsistent still. It's hard for these crew chiefs to really get a handle on what they're doing, and so it affects our show. And at the end of the day, our fans are paying for a great show, and that's what I want to give them. I want to be, a great showman, and I want them to walk away going like, that's the coolest stuff I've ever seen. You know what I mean? And that's, and I want to have that feeling. I want to be able to know that I'm sitting in a race car that can set a world record any given moment, and lay down numbers that, that you go up there and you just dream about breaking, So it takes a little bit from you, you know what I mean? But it is, at the end of the day, we're still running over 300 miles an hour. We're still putting on a great show. It's just not the what I'm used to, you know what I mean?
Hey, Matt, you made the comment, or I saw the comment somewhere, I think that you made, that the lane choice was critical. You had lane choice every round, and that was critical. Normally that hasn't seemed to have been a big deal for the last many years, right? The lanes were pretty equal.
Well,
was there a deal up there this weekend where one lane was significantly better than the other?
Kind of, a little bit, lane choice does matter whether you pull down stuff, but it's a lot about confidence, right? You know what I mean? You're really talking about, your crew chief and him not having to make, small calls or big decisions on changing lanes and the bumps and that track up there is a really good track, and I felt like the lanes were pretty equal. We were going down both lanes and different things like that. But anytime you can keep lane choice, you're going to have more confidence in your crew chief. You're going to have more confidence in what you're doing. And you're going to, I feel like, we're going to win more races by having lane choice than I am diving in deep and losing lane choice to try to make it look like I have a better reaction time. So up until the final, I always try to, really pride myself on being thin and trying to keep lane choice. And it's just a matter of whether you have a good enough hot rod to do that or not.
Matt, I got to tell you, I grew up in the suburbs, so I don't know the first thing about farming. What are we doing up at the farm right now? We baling hay? What's going on up there?
I'm at the hemp farm, man. We're actually cleaning some equipment. We got all of our plants planted, and we're just watching this stuff kind of grow a little bit, throwing a lot of nitrogen to it, and making these big, beautiful CBD plants. That's kind of what we're focused on right now. Obviously, still farming 2,100 acres of cattle and doing that side of things. So there's plenty to do between the farms and the racing and my outdoor store and my kids and my wife and yada, yada, yada. It's like, I don't know if there's enough hours in the day, but at the end of the day, very, very blessed to do what we do. And I just enjoy getting back out here, working hard and staying humble and trying to move forward every day,
Hey, Matt, you've got some busy racing coming up with Denver and then the rest of the West Coast swing. What's your feeling? I mean, you've got some momentum now. How you guys feeling going out for that West Coast swing?
Oh, dude, Denver's a joke. You know what I mean? Like I've rolled into Denver and left with less points than we started. It's just awful. It's brutal, man. I mean, it's my sponsor's race, and I have yet to win it. I red lit in the final against Force, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and that's the closest I've gotten in a long time. And I'm just going like, can we please change this race to be something other than Mopar, so I won't feel so bad when I don't win it. But it's, Denver is just it's an animal in itself because you do so much different stuff up there to get these cars to run. And if they sounded like that at sea level, you would shut it off, But I don't know. We're just gonna kind of walk into Denver, with the best combination that we can hope for. And what's really cool is we do have Zippy that's helping some here and there with some different things, and he's always done well up there with Force and stuff like that. So we're kind of going to key off of some of his thoughts and ideas on some stuff for up there. But once we get back to the normal altitude stuff, I really do feel good about the direction that we're moving in. I mean, our car this weekend was very consistent. Like I said, we kept lane choice. We were low for every round. My lights were really good. I mean, we just have a really good combo if we can keep it moving forward without changing a lot of stuff.
Well, it is the Mile High Nationals that are next up on the schedule, so all the best. You're going to be bringing Mile High a momentum along with you as you head into Denver. Congratulations on the win this weekend, and all the best as you head off into the West Coast Swing.
Hey, thank you, guys. I appreciate it, and I'd love to talk to you soon. That means we'll win something if we do, right?
You got it. All right, thanks for joining us, and we'll be right back with more right here on The Straight Line.
Hi, folks. Mike Bagley here. At MRN, we rely on equipment from Racing Electronics.
Joey Logano to the lead on the back straightaway.
Racing Electronics has scanners and headphones. We can listen to every uncensored conversation between driver and crew.
You won the championship, baby, yeah!
And when we need live audio, in-car cameras, and up-to-the-second statistics, we use their latest handheld unit called Legend. To learn more about these products and many others, visit racingelectronics.com. Racing Electronics, the official two-way communication partner of MRN.
He is the envy of the racing world.
I assumed that Ryan, Bubba, and Chase were all busy, and I was the next in the pecking order.
She goes way back.
When did you meet? 7th grade, 6th grade?
No, 9th grade. That was a minute ago.
And he just wants to be friends.
Are we friends? No.
It's the Sunday Money Podcast. Join Corey LaJoy, Daryl Mott, and Lauren Fox as they detail what it's like to live the racing lifestyle both on and off the track. Download and subscribe to Sunday Money on iTunes, Spotify, and your favorite podcast platform.
It's butts and nuts jammed in there.
Join Motor Racing Network every Tuesday night for NASCAR Live. Get the latest news and exclusive interviews from the biggest names in the sport.
But I mean, I don't know how to summarize it any better that, a driver's home track where his family and friends are all present just feels like a bigger event.
Hear the thoughts and opinions from NASCAR insiders and much more.
I mean, when people come up to me all the time and say, hey, Rusty, who's going to win this week? I consistently say the 4-car.
It's NASCAR Live every Tuesday evening at 7 Eastern on the Motor Racing Network.
Welcome back. MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Ralph Shaheen, Doug Herbert with you, and it's time to sell tickets.
NHRA.com, upper right-hand corner, click on the ticket tab. Get your tickets. Upcoming races, Denver, Sonoma, Seattle, all the West Coast swing races. If you live on the West Coast, get out to an NHRA drag race one of these next couple weeks.
You're pretty good at that.
Hey.
Yeah, that right
Sunday.
Yeah, you did that right off of memory. Let's talk a little bit about the Dodge Mile High NHRA Nationals presented by Pennzoil out there in Colorado. That's the first part of the West Coast swing.
Yep.
We heard what Matt was saying about how challenging it is to run out there. You've competed out there. What was it like for you?
It's hard to run out there. It's Mile High. They call it the Mile High Nationals for a reason. It's actually 5,000 something feet up in the air.
Yep.
And then by the time you figure in the temperature, all the factors, so they've got a, corrected altitude, which is what the cars are tuned with. Sometimes it's over 10,000 feet corrected altitude, which means it's really hard to make those cars run. And one year, I don't know, I think 97 or 98 or something, we went to the final round and so that means we made 8 runs. We put 8 engines in the car.
Seriously?
8 engines. Yeah. It's a hard place.
That's
just
an
like Matt
expensive
Hagan.
day.
That was a really expensive day. Yeah, that was really expensive. So it's a very difficult place to run. With no air, it means you're trying to have more compression. You're turning the blower faster. You're running the parts harder than you should have to run them, but there's just no air. So you're having trouble making power. And different guys do different things. They seem like the superchargers have gotten so much better over the last 10 years or so that the cars are actually running better in Denver because of superchargers. So they've kind of got it figured out a little bit now, but I don't know. Matt Hagan, his crew chief Diggy Venables, has been going to Denver for a long time. I know back since from Shirley Muldowney, right?
Back in the Peggy Fleming days?
Right, yeah, back in way back, way back, yeah. And he doesn't have it figured out. So, I mean, it's, some guys seem like they have it figured out, and some guys just struggle. It used to be in the old days, I know, like Tim Richards, Joe Amato's crew chief, he had it figured out. Dick LaHaye was pretty good. Dick worked for me one year, and we were number one qualifier there and ran pretty well. But it's just a really, really difficult place to run good.
One of the things I thought that was interesting that Matt said about that is if your car ran like that at sea level, you'd shut it off.
Yeah. If it sounded like that. Yeah. Because you go up there and the engine just kind of sounds sick. They just sound sick. But if you, I think Jim Head one year, he said, I'm just curious what this thing will sound like. So he went from Denver and left his Denver tune-up in and went to Sonoma, I guess, and started the thing up with high compression and the blower going fast. And, oh, boy, they sound really, really mean, but you couldn't run it like that because it would blow right up.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, yeah. But you would just shut it off. If you pulled up to the starting line at a sea-level track and your engine sounded sick like it does at Denver just under normal conditions, turn it off.
Is this an event then where the driver maybe becomes more of a factor in the performance of the car that you can then compensate for that with how you run yourself at the lights, for example?
I think you've got to be really ready to backpedal, to get on and off the throttle, to maybe hold the brake, just get the car down the track. A lot of times in Denver, just getting the car down the track is critical. And then the Vandermeer family does a really nice job. Like, it's a nice facility. They were the first track to put a cooling system underneath. I don't know. I think it's like the first couple 200 or 300 feet of the racetrack. There's actually cooling tubes in the concrete that cool the surface of the track. So you don't have that 140-degree track temperature at Denver because they can cool off the track.
So it kind of helps compensate for the lack of air. At least you're getting some traction to get going.
Well, yeah, at least you don't have, at least you have no air and no traction. At least they've got plenty of traction so you can blow it up really good.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to start this West Coast swing, and this is going to be tough because these guys have been at it for a while.
Well, yeah, and then next year, as we talked about a few weeks ago, next year the West Coast swing is going to be part of a 4-race swing. I think it was it Chicago and then Denver, Sonoma, Seattle, all 4 in a row. So I'll tell you what, that's tough. I always liked doing that. We'd run NHRA races, IHRA races, match races in between, but it's hard on crew guys. It's just, you burn them out. I mean, they have no life. They're driving from one race to the next. I mean, it's not like NASCAR where they go hop on a plane and the truck driver drives the truck. And drag racing, most of the guys travel with the team. They're driving the support vehicles, they're driving the truck, whatever. So that's a lot of work, It's a lot of work. And over the next 3 or 4 weeks, they're going to put, probably 4,000 or 5,000 miles of driving on between the trucks and the trailers and the transport, safety, additional equipment that they need to get to the races.
Yeah, it's going to be hot.
A lot of diesel fuel burn in addition to nitro.
Yeah, right. And it's going to be hot temperatures. I mean, you go to a place like Sonoma this time of year, man, it can be pretty hot out there. I know I'm from out that part of the country, and I've seen some pretty hot days standing out there.
Well, in Denver especially, I mean, I remember back, Connie Coletta won't go to Denver. He just won't go. He said, I'm not going. Joe Paisano died there. There's no air up there, and I'm old, and I can't breathe that well anyways. I'm not going. So you won't see Connie Coletta at Denver. And it's just a hard place. I mean, there's no air. There's no air for the race cars. There's no air for your body. You park down in the parking lot, and then you've got to walk up the hill to go into the pit area. And by the time you get up there, he's like, man, I'm old,
So somebody is going to battle through all that, though, and they're going to hoist a Wally.
Yep.
So there's going to be a winner out there at the Dodge Mile High.
Maybe it'll be a first-time winner. My guess is it'll be one of the people that continue to do well at Denver. Denver is one of those places where it's, people do well there. John Force, whatever. There's the people that do well there, and just like Matt Hagan says, he's one of the ones that hasn't had the luck. So we'll see.
Speaking of luck, you can win a free set of tires from those of us here at MRN and our friends at Hercules Tire. They're giving away a free set of tires every month. And what you have to do is register by going to HerculesTire.com/MRN. So sign up today and see if you can win yourself a free set of tires. Pretty good deal, don't you think?
Pretty good deal, yeah. I've entered. I can't win. I guess
you can't win.
Shoot.
Well, he's out. You might be able to win. Go sign up today, and we'll be right back for more of Straight Line.
Here's your chance to win a set of your very own Hercules tires. Go to HerculesTires.com/MRN. Simply register, and each month we'll give away one set of tires. Hercules Tires has the value, selection, and industry-leading mileage coverage to get you wherever you need to go, no matter where the road takes you. Register now for your chance to win a set of Hercules tires at HerculesTires.com/MRN. Hercules Tires. Ride on our street.
When the racing concludes each weekend, keep up with the non-stop NASCAR news each weekday on NASCAR Today midday.
The drafting type races I've always excelled in, so that's where I see a tremendous advantage.
I think it was very important for us to get Martin and to get Cole, both of those as a group, because they're very good at what they do.
NASCAR Today midday, Monday through Friday on the Motor Racing Network, the voice of NASCAR.
Check out MRN.com for a podcast series called The Tough Trucks of NASCAR. 25 years and still trucking. We'll take you back to some great races.
Here they come. They're crashing in the back at the line. Mike Skinner wins it.
Some wild moments.
Brendan Gaughan gets turned around and slams hard into the inside retaining wall.
And the stories that go with them.
We lost the championship, but there was a lot of ugly things that went on behind the scenes. Ended a lot of friendships, actually, to this day.
Download the shows for free on iTunes and at MRN.com.
Welcome back. MRN's A Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts, our final segment here. Before we get into red light, green light, we've had a lot of fun having representatives from the different manufacturers on. So far, we've had Ford and Toyota, and we're working to get Chevrolet and Dodge on here. Hopefully, you folks are enjoying the conversation. We think it's kind of cool finding out what the manufacturers are thinking about what's going on in the NHRA and
why are they involved in the sport? What are they getting out of it?
Where are they headed? All this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I'm really looking forward to getting one of the folks on from Chevrolet. You know, they're getting ready. I've been invited to come out in July to the unveiling of the mid-engine Corvette, right? And you think about the legendary Corvette in drag racing. You think Corvette, first thing you think about is road racing, right? Okay, it's America's sports car, road racing car. It's also a big legend in drag racing.
Oh, yeah.
Every sportsman category has a Corvette in there somewhere.
Right. Well, even back in the days, it was, Tom McEwen had Corvette
funny
cars.
Correct.
And then all of a sudden it's a mid-engine car. What happens to
That's my question. What do you do now if it becomes a mid-engine car, which of course you can still go sports car racing with?
Oh, yeah. I guess that's why they're doing it, right? I mean,
well, and I guess from what I've heard is that, they feel like they've maxed out what they could do engineering-wise with the front engine car as far as advancing it and being competitive with that design, and all that. And they feel like the mid-engine layout gives them a better opportunity with weight and all that to be able to push the limits further, right? Okay, fine. But now what do you do with drag racing? Are you just turning your back on drag racing then with the Corvette? And then if that's the case, I've heard rumbles about the Camaro. I don't know. What are you going to do with that? Is that
what they're talking about? A Camaro being a mid-engine too?
No. Maybe if Camaro sales don't keep going up, it goes away. I don't know.
Boy. Oh.
Who knows, right? I mean, they just canceled out the Volkswagen Beetle, so Camaro's gone away before, right? You never know. So, what is Chevrolet left with in drag racing if you do that? Or maybe if you're going to do this, maybe it's a reason to keep the Camaro around, which would be great.
Well, yeah, I think that's exactly right. That would be same thing with NASCAR, right? They run Camaros and NASCAR.
Yeah,
so
I can't imagine the Camaro really goes away, right?
Something. Nah, Camaro's not going.
But it's gone away before, and I didn't think it would.
That's true.
Anyway,
my first car I ever had, 1970 Camaro. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
I had a Grand Sport with a 455.
Did you?
73.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. It's fun.
We're hot rodders, man.
Muscle car guys. Hey, okay, so let's get into red light, green light. We'll continue the conversation with the manufacturers when we get them on. For red light, green light, let's start with the red light. We wanted to get in this with Matt Hagan. We just ran out of time there, but there weren't full fields in both Funny Car and Top Fuel.
The fields are short.
What's the problem?
Well, there's a lot of problems. I mean, the first problem is it's really expensive to run a Top Fuel car. Typically, a weekend of running a Top Fuel car is at least $100,000. It costs $100,000 for a weekend to run a competitive Top Fuel car. Well,
and that's just pieces and parts.
That's just pieces and parts. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Is
that some of the logistics of travel and all that?
Some, probably some. But I mean, there's guys that are spending twice that much per weekend too. So somewhere, I'm just throwing that number out there. Let's just say $100,000. So you're not going to just go out and spend $100,000. Why didn't Pat Dakin go? Or, Leah Pritchett,
Leah
right?
was the big
Leah
one
Pritchett
missing,
didn't
right?
go. That's
Yeah.
the first race she's missed in a long time.
Yeah.
Don Schumacher has been threatening. I've heard
Just
that.
park the car.
Hey, we're going to park the car if we don't have a sponsor. As we talked about earlier, Don Schumacher has parked Tony. Tony Schumacher, the Sarge umpteen-time national champion, is not racing Top Fuel because he doesn't have a sponsor. Man, that's pretty tough.
And unfortunately for our race fans up there in New Hampshire, that's a long tow up there now, which makes me worried about the West Coast Swing and a place like Seattle. Again, logistically, that's a tough venue to get to, right? Costs you extra money.
Well, that's right. But, you've got Steve Chrisman will come out, West Coast guys. There's a couple other West Coast guys that'll probably come out. I don't know about Denver, though. I mean, Denver, as we talked about earlier, that's a tough place to go. It's expensive to race there, hard on parts. So I don't know. Sonoma, they'll get a full field at Sonoma. Seattle, same thing. I mean, that's up there. It's hard to say.
Hate to hear that.
What I feel about is, kind of one of the reasons why I had to quit racing my Top Fuel car. The value of the sponsorship is X'd. Whatever, the value of the exposure, right? Value to the sponsor. Let's say it's $50,000.
A return on their investment.
Right. So they figure, okay, this is a good deal. We're going to give you $50,000 or $100,000. Well, but if it costs more than that to run the car, what do? You've got to get other sponsors, or, it turns into a rich guy sport. That's unfortunately, I think that's a little bit the place that we are right now. I think NHRA is doing a pretty good job bringing the value of the TV exposure and so forth back. But man, I don't know. That's a tough answer.
It is a really tough thing to balance because we want to see the stars of the tour out there each and every week. I'm a fan of this, a Leah Pritchett fan.
Sure.
I want to see Leah in competition. If the only opportunity I have to go is to Epping and she's not there, I'm bummed, right? And so that's the hard part. But at the same time, technology and the push and the performance is another reason why the fans are coming to the racetrack. And the only way to do that is to spend that money, right?
Right. R&D,
yeah.
New parts, wind tunnel testing, CFD modeling, all the things that cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Is also the reason why the fans enjoy the sport. So that's a tough balancing act there.
And that's where we're going for our green light. When it comes to R&D and pushing performance, one of the greatest ever was the legendary Ed Iskandarian, who, by the way, today turned 98. Happy birthday.
98 years old. Yeah, happy birthday to the Cam Fowler, Ed Iskandarian. Cool guy. I have known him forever. He was a good friend of my father's. He drove to my dad's funeral in his old T-Bucket Roadster. It has like a Buick engine in it or something, and he's got it's all custom stuff that he's owned it for something like 50 years or maybe longer.
Yeah.
Just a neat guy. Yeah, neat guy. But they call him the Cam Father. And, back in the 60s in drag racing, they had the Cam Wars. You had Chet Herbert, my dad, Iskandarian, of course, Engel,
And that wasn't by machine.
Crowler.
That was by hand back then. You're working on everything by hand.
You got to be a craftsman. Yeah. I mean, it's no CNC really equipment back
That's
then.
what I'm getting at, yeah.
You run the Cam.
You're doing it.
Yeah, right. It's pretty interesting.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to the Cam Father.
Absolutely. That's it. For Doug, I'm Ralph. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week right here on MRN's The Straight Line, presented by O'Reilly Auto Parts.